It's 30 degrees outside, but I'm wearing a crop top because we are talking probiotics and gut health. Now we know about the mind-gut connection, and we know all of the good bacteria and all of the microflora that's in our gut contributes not only to digestion, but also to immunity, to mental health, and all of these other things that the research is showing every day. I love probiotics for those reasons, and also too because sometimes, you just kind of feel sluggish. It's like a breath mint for your digestive system, something to kick it up. So what foods are high in probiotics? You want to think about fermented foods, but not just fermented foods that are also unpasteurized and unheated. So that means things like yogurt, kefir, miso, sauerkraut, kimchi, and to a lesser extent things like buttermilk, sourdough, and some types of cheeses. But the key is that you have to use probiotics in the right way. Probiotics have millions, billions of active cultures in there, and that's the key word, they are active. So when you're preparing these foods, it's important that you keep these active cultures alive so they can do what they do best. Tip number one to get the most out of your probiotics is that probiotics work best in the absence of white sugar. All of those sugary yogurts, all of those flavored kefirs, anything with added white sugar, it's going to be counterproductive. The white sugar actually inhibits the production and proliferation of your gut bacteria. I'm going to add my own natural sweetener to this kefir. And so kefir is awesome because it actually has more active cultures than yogurt, and it has a kind of interesting fizzy taste to it. I've heard it described as the champagne of yogurt. It's so alive, it's so bubbling, it's really good. What are we going to add to this kefir smoothie? I think when it comes to smoothies, just be creative. Just figure out what you have in your house. You can even get a little chefy with it. Today, what I'm feeling is, I think I want to go a little indulgent. I'm gonna do a cherry mocha kefir shake. And I'm gonna add 1 date to it. And so dates work totally fine with the kefir. It's a natural sugar that won't get in the way of the probiotics. Instant coffee granules, cocoa powder, and 1 date. Remember to take out the pit. Only do that if you're making a smoothie for yourself. Okay, let's try it. Great flavor from the coffee and the cocoa, and I like that little bit of brightness from the cherry. This is an awesome way to get your probiotics and keep your sugar levels low so you're getting all of those probiotic benefits. So the second thing you want to keep in mind when you're cooking with probiotic-rich foods is that you actually don't want to cook with them. You don't want to heat them and kill all of those active cultures. And so when you get things like kimchi rice or kimchi soup, they taste great, but unfortunately, the probiotic benefits of the kimchi are lost in the heat. So what we're going to do is we're going to use kimchi a little differently. We're not going to eat it straight, which is totally fine and totally great. We're going to make a dressing. Couldn't be easier. I have some kimchi here, and whenever you're getting kimchi or fermented pickles or sauerkraut, you always want to get the products that are in the refrigerated case. If they're on the shelf, they're shelf stable, that means that they were pasteurized and they're no good. Probiotics are as good as dead. So I have my kimchi here, and I'm going to add some buttermilk. Buttermilk also has probiotics in it too. Let's just double up on them, right? And then I'm gonna add a little bit of sesame oil. And I like to put this in the food processor so you can get a little bit of that texture still in the kimchi, as opposed to totally liquefying it in the blender. I already made a salad. And here it is. And let's just put some of that dressing on top. Last, I think a salad always needs crunchies, so I'm gonna add some sesame seeds and some edamame. All right, let's give it a try. So this is awesome if you think that kimchi is a little bit overpowering. The buttermilk kind of tempers that tickling fermented heat, which I kind of love. But this is kind of like an entry-level kimchi dish. I mean, what's not to like? The kimchi really comes across. It's evenly dispersed throughout this whole salad. And I know that I'm getting my probiotics. They're all happy and alive and on their way to my gut. So I know I just said that you don't want to heat probiotic-rich foods, but that doesn't mean that you can't eat those foods with hot foods. What do I mean? So it just so happens that one of the best sandwiches on the planet has sauerkraut on it, and it's hot, and it is a Reuben. But how do we make that into the probiotic powerhouse that it could be? So what we're going to do is we're going to add the sauerkraut at the very last minute. It's really just a matter of assembly here. I have my sourdough bread, and actually sourdough bread does have probiotics in it. It's the same fermentation process that occurs in kombucha and yogurt and kefir, but to a lesser extent. So I'm not worried about toasting this. It's not the MVP in this probiotic sandwich. So first I'm gonna make this very quick Thousand Island dressing, and here's a cheat. It's just ketchup. You can use mayo or you can use sour cream. Some sour cream actually is probiotic too. It's a fermented dairy product, but not all of it. And then I have some relish. We're gonna spread this on the bread. And then I'm gonna add turkey. You can use whatever meat you want. You can use pastrami, you can do roast beef, you could do tofu cutlets. It doesn't really matter. I think the key to the Reuben flavor is the Thousand Island dressing, the sauerkraut, and a little bit of cheese. So in other preparations, what you might do is you might add the sauerkraut now. But no, don't do that because you're gonna heat this up and then all of the active cultures are going to wither away in the heat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the sandwich, toast it, and then add the sauerkraut later. Now we have our Reuben sandwich. It's been heated up. The cheese is all melted. Now we're going to add our sauerkraut. So I got this cool brand. It has jalapeno and chilies. I mean, lots of different companies are making really fun sauerkrauts right now. It's a golden age of fermented foods. Let's give it a try. You know, all sandwiches can benefit from some sort of pickle, some sort of little bit of crunch, some bite, some brininess. And if you're going to do that, you might as well use a fermented pickle because they taste great and they're so good for you. Like I said before, the Reuben, one of the all-time best sandwiches. I actually like how there's a contrast between the cold sauerkraut and the rest of the hot ingredients. It gives it a little bit of contrast, kind of like, you know, ice cream on hot apple pie. And sauerkraut is really just the perfect complement to this sandwich. It sort of cuts through the fat, it adds some brightness, it perks it up a little bit. And when you assemble it in this way, you add the sauerkraut at the last minute. Not only is this delicious, but the sauerkraut is really living up to its potential and you're getting all of those great active cultures. So I just made basically the best lunch ever. I have my cherry mocha kefir smoothie. I have my salad with kimchi buttermilk dressing. And of course, I have my correctly assembled Reuben sandwich. I hope this shows you ways that you can make sure that you're getting the best out of your probiotic-rich foods. You know, there's so much excitement around this mind-body-gut connection. And so when you understand everything that's good in the food and how it can best benefit your body, I think that's when you feel the healthiest and the happiest. If you like this video, please like it down below and subscribe. I'm Jess Tom, and I'll see you later. Bye.